Today we are here with Mr. Grandinetti. So our first question for you is, what is your current occupation, and could you describe what that job entails?
Yeah, so I am the brand president for Baskin Robbins. I work for Inspire Brands, which is a combination of six quick service restaurant brands, including Dunkin'. And we're a 100% franchised ice cream business in the US. And so I run that business for Inspire.
Yeah. Did you always know you wanted to do this job?
Yeah, when I was 3 years old, I knew I wanted to be the president of an ice cream company. No, but I started working here 16 years ago in operations for Baskin Robbins, and so it's been sort of the culmination of a lot of twists and turns. But as I grew in this brand role, I knew I eventually would love to run the brand itself, and so a lot of things have sort of happened along the last 16 years. But the role inside this company, I think, was something I always wanted to do.
Where did you go to college?
UC Berkeley, go Bears.
Did you have a major and a minor?
Yeah, so I studied something strange called Political Economy of Industrialized Society, which is a real fancy name for basically history, like poli-sci economics. I had a minor in Italian because I studied abroad my junior year in Venice, in Italy. And because the classes I took were in Italian, it was enough to qualify for the minor, even though I didn't intend to get a minor. It was kind of one of those things at the end where it was like, oh, you have this many credits in Italian, you can get a minor. So I was like, all right, let's go. Um, but yeah, basically poli sci and econ in simple terms.
Okay. And then, did you have to complete any extra school or training to get into your job?
I probably should have done more training. They should probably never have hired me for this role, but that's a different story. No, not really. Like, I didn't do graduate school, so I have, my BA in poli sci econ. I did run a business in Georgia for 4 years. I like to call that my like practical MBA because we ran a restaurant, and so I learned a lot about people and systems and legal requirements. And then the only other thing I think theoretically I'm supposed to have is food safety certification. So I do like a serve safe certification every couple of years. Uh, Not necessarily a professional obligation, but I think probably something that's just good to know in our business.
hmm
Yeah.
And then how flexible would you say your job is?
I have a lot of flexibility, which is one of the things I love. I've always worked for people that prioritize family. I mean, you guys probably remember was able to coach and do stuff outside of the job. So like I work a lot on my own time, which means I do work at weird hours. Sometimes I work early or work late, but it gives me the flexibility to do other things when I want to.
hmm
What would you say some of the most important traits are to have in your job?
Uh, Short-term memory loss, sense of humor, patience. No, like there's part of my role at this point is dealing with a lot of challenges, right? So I see challenges in operations, in marketing, supply chain, legal. So there is a degree of levity that's required. Take things seriously, but maybe don't take them personally. Um, and I think being comfortable talking to people, listening to people is really important because as a franchise business, our business is basically built on other people's businesses. And so you have to have trust. And a lot of that just comes from communication.
hmm What does a typical day in the office look like?
Ice cream for breakfast, ice cream for lunch, ice cream for mid-afternoon snack, maybe an espresso. A lot of Zoom, as you'd imagine. Blend of we're getting back to having more face-to-face meetings. So we're kind of in the office typically Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's more flexibility for people to work from home Mondays and Fridays. But yeah, a lot of meetings, a lot of talking, a lot of stuff.
Has there been anything about your job that has surprised you?
Good question. Um, maybe the more responsibility you take on, the more you need other people. So it's sort of like direct relationship. You'd think that sometimes the people that have higher roles are more independent and make more independent decisions. I think it's actually the inverse. And I rely even more heavily on people as maybe I have more decision-making authority for the brand.
Hmm. If you could give your high school self one tip, what would it be?
I think the one thing I'd say is be patient with success. Like, you come from successful families, you have high standards for yourself. And I think the expectation is that you sort of come out of college and you're charging on your career path and everything's going to go according to plan. And and it takes a while to figure out sort of what you want to do. There's maybe a little trial and error there. And as long as you're focusing on learning and not chasing money and title, ultimately you're going to have a better chance at being successful. And so I think be patient and don't necessarily feel like there's pressure to have it all figured out at day one.
Okay. And lastly, what is your favorite part of your job?
Oh man, I have a lot. Ice cream is obviously an incredible backdrop for life, right? Life happens, memories happen over ice cream. You may not remember like what flavor ice cream you were eating, but you typically remember who you were with or what you were doing or what you were celebrating. And so I feel really lucky that this is my subject matter. Like it's full of optimism and fun and celebration. Um, I love the people in my job. That probably is something that everybody would say, but there's really interesting, intelligent, motivated people that do a lot of things outside of work that are cool too. And some I'm always challenged. And one of the cool things I always come back to is my job's different every day. So, could be a lot of different things that come back to the brand, but almost there's no day that's the same. And so I think that keeps it really interesting too. I'm still learning 16 years in, having had all the exposure to this brand and business. Every day I learn something about franchisees, people, our product, the ways to do things better. So I'm having a lot of fun, and I guess that's the most important part.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.